A massive storm system is about to strike much of the U.S., bringing a massive blizzard and extreme severe weather conditions to much of the U.S. Here's what to expect in your area. This major storm system is already currently developing across areas like Montana and Wyoming at the moment, and North Dakota regions, as this huge, massive blizzard is about to strike much of the upper Midwest. We are already going to see some very, very heavy snowfall rates heading towards areas like Minneapolis. 4 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's going to start dumping snow out there, and these snowfall rates are going to be insane. We could see 2 to 3 inch per hour rates in some spots, which is why we're going to see such a high accumulation snowstorm. This is going to be an absolutely generational snowstorm for much of areas like Minnesota and Wisconsin regions. Now, one thing I did want to state, there may be some mixing problems in southern portions of Wisconsin and Minnesota areas that may bring down some of those snowfall totals a little bit and bring it more towards sleet. But areas like Minneapolis and central Wisconsin, areas like Wausau and the UP of Michigan are pretty well going to see a ton of snowfall from the system. It's just going to be snowing for a long time. Very heavy Sunday morning. And then the backside of this thing is going to come through. Basically like a second round of snow will come through areas like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and it's going to be a lot colder. So those snowfall rates are going to be more in those heavy wet snow. And then Monday morning, it's going to start to switch to that fluffy, dry snow that really accumulates pretty quickly. So there's going to be a lot of changes with this snowfall, and it's going to be snowing for such a long time, which is why this is going to accumulate so much dang snow with the system. And there could even be an isolated backside of this that brings some snow down to areas like Missouri and Illinois. But I do want to say, once this back part of the storm comes through around Sunday at 10 p.m., that's when most of those strong wind gusts are going to be through the region, because that cold front's going to move through, and the system is already going to be past. Look at that, 979 millibar pressure in Michigan. That's going to cause some extreme wind gusts outside of this thing. That's one thing. It's going to be very windy. So we're likely going to see blizzard conditions in areas like Des Moines, Iowa, potentially the Twin Cities, Wausau, Wisconsin areas, Green Bay, potentially seeing that potential. And then maybe also a little bit of freezing rain risk could occur in southern Wisconsin and northern portions of Michigan with this. But this is just going to be an insane winter system. Now, the models are showing some absolutely generational, insane, and I mean absurd snowfall totals from the system for areas like Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan, and even Minnesota areas. The amount of snow that this model is showing for these areas is absolutely nuts. Like the fact that it's showing this much dang snow for these areas. This blends every model together. They may be overdoing it a tad. I do think it's maybe on the higher end, but this system is going to be so wild. Extremely heavy snowfall rates occurring for 24 hours straight. We're destined to get a generational winter storm in portions of northern Wisconsin, and it's going to be very windy, blowing snow. We're going to see gusts up to 50 miles an hour in a lot of these areas. The travel is going to be impossible, and I don't advise you to travel at all from Sunday morning all the way through Monday morning. I wouldn't be traveling at all. Besides, you're going to be stuck in your home, basically. Look at this. Twin Cities. This is showing 20 inches of snow in the blended miles in the Twin City region. Des Moines, Iowa, only around 4 inches of snow, but blizzard conditions possible in Des Moines, Iowa from this system. Wausau, Wisconsin, out near Granite Peak. 32 inches of snow in the blended miles. That might be the most snow they've ever got. Green Bay, Wisconsin, 20 inches of snow, but maybe a little less due to sleet mixing potential. And then the ice impacts are definitely going to be a little bit from this too. Nothing as extreme as the snowfall we're going to get, but there's going to be a narrow band of potential ice in these darker pink areas where probably northern Michigan, including Gaylord, Michigan, will probably see the most of this, of up to 0.4 of an inch of ice. But besides that, a good swath of above 1/10 of an inch of ice possible. That will accumulate under that snow. That could definitely cause some problems with this too. But the UP of Michigan, look at this. 54 inches of snow near Marquette. That is insane that it's showing that much snow in the UP of Michigan. That is absolutely absurd. This whole area seeing 30 inches of snow in that entire region. The entire state of Wisconsin basically seeing a foot of snow with this. We're going to look at the National Weather Service's snowfall prediction. They're predicting that northern Wisconsin sees a ton of snow for this. Look at that area. 44 inches of snow in the forecast in the UP of Michigan right there. All these areas in the UP of Michigan seeing at least 30 inches of snow, 35 inches of snow to be exact. 18 inches of snow possible in the Twin Cities from this system. Portions of Wisconsin, 27, 28, nearly 30 inches of snow. This whole area is going to see 30 inches of snow from this system. This snowfall amounts are going to be absolutely wild. Now, in the wind gusts are also going to be very high with this system. We're going to see gusts in parts of Wisconsin and the Twin Cities areas of up to 45 miles an hour in some of these spots. Now, that doesn't sound like crazy blizzard conditions, but these snowfall rates are going to be so dang heavy that it's instantly going to make that visibility go down because of how heavy that snow is coming down. So, blizzard conditions is possible across much of Wisconsin and Minnesota regions. Now, Des Moines, Iowa, 60 miles an hour gusts on the forecast at 6 p.m. on Sunday. That is absolutely insane. Now, they're not going to see as much snow in Des Moines, Iowa, but whenever it's snowing, those gusts are going to be so nuts that, man, oh man, just crazy conditions. If we look at weather-wise currently, this whole area in orange all means blizzard warnings. Blizzard warnings in Minneapolis, Aberdeen, Watertown, Des Moines, Iowa, Fort Dodge, UP of Michigan, Wausau, Rhinelander, Escanaba, Marquette, all in blizzard warnings for extreme blizzard conditions and extreme snowfall totals in these areas. Now, this system is going to be so dang strong. That pressure is going to deepen like crazy. And not just are we going to see the winter storm impacts with the blizzard conditions there, but we're also going to see some very, very strong winds on the backside of the system. Look at this, all the way in the Great Plains, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska. We're going to see gusts up to 60 miles an hour. This is Sunday at 2 p.m. During the day on Sunday, especially during the afternoon hours, it's going to be very, very strong gusts in these areas. I would not advise you to be traveling the roads. There could be blowing dust potential. It's not going to be a fun drive when the winds are gusting to 60 miles an hour in these areas. Things could be blowing around like absolutely insane. Look at that. Those gusts are just going to go absolutely bonkers in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and the plains. Potentially even Kansas City, Missouri seeing some strong gusts with this too, 50 miles an hour gusts. And some more strong gusts kind of occurring in areas like Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri and Ohio. Sunday at 2 p.m. So overall, it's going to be very, very windy day across all these regions on Sunday with some extreme winds in the plains. Now, due to this, we're also going to see, due to these very strong wind gusts, we're also going to see some very, very dry conditions, especially in areas like New Mexico, parts of the Texas Panhandle regions, and Oklahoma areas, where the relative humidity levels are going to be below 30%. It's going to be down to 10% in some spots in Texas, and that's going to bring some really, really good conditions for some big time fire weather conditions. So make sure you are not igniting anything. Make sure you're avoiding any type of fire, because the conditions are going to be very, very conducive for fires anywhere in these very dark areas due to that strong wind gusts being combined. I bet the Texas Panhandle are going to see some, especially near Amarillo, could see some very, very high fire weather conditions with this system. And if we take a look at that, we've already got fire weather warnings being issued across much of these areas and high wind warnings combined with that. Now, the winter storm side of this thing is not the only thing we're going to be seeing. It's also going to bring an extreme severe weather risk, as we already have an orange enhanced risk 3 out of 5 of severe weather ranging all the way from Louisiana all the way up to Illinois and Missouri and Indiana regions. We're going to see some big time severe weather in the orange and yellow areas. And this is going to be associated with some moisture being plumed up from the Gulf of Mexico. And if there was more moisture, we would definitely have an extreme severe weather event, because the overall dynamics of this system are going to be absolutely absurd. But that moisture is going to be lacking a little bit with this system. It's only going to be dew points in the 50s. If we had it in the 60s, we'd probably get some big time tornado outbreak potential, which is definitely good that we're not going to see that, but we still could see some tornado outbreak potential with this, especially in some of these areas. And this is going to be associated with a big squall line that is going to develop in portions of Missouri, Illinois, in Arkansas areas, and then it's going to strengthen as it pushes toward the east, which is associated with this massive cold front that we are going to be seeing coming through these areas. And due to this, there's going to be some big time wind impacts from this system. We have the SIG area, which means we could see significant winds, 74 miles an hour or greater. In that pink area right there is a 45% chance of damaging winds in your area. If you are in the yellow or red or pink areas, and you do need to be very prepared for this. Typically, the pink means that we're near a moderate risk of severe weather with this. This is going to be some big time damaging winds. You don't see a pink 45% chance of damaging winds very often. So areas like Memphis, Tennessee, Paducah, Evansville, areas need to be very prepared for this thing as it heads towards the east. It's going to develop over near St. Louis, Missouri, and Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's going to strengthen as it pushes towards the east, bringing some big time damaging wind impacts with this. Another thing I wanted to mention is there's going to be embedded tornadoes with this system. If you are in any of these tornado outlook areas, you do need to be prepared as tornadoes are going to be possible with this system, especially in that yellow area where we do have a 10% chance of tornadoes from that. That little black dashed, that dark area does mean there's potential for EF2 plus tornadoes, so strong embedded tornadoes are possible with this within the line of storms we have. If we do get prefrontals ahead of this storm, supercells that form ahead of the line, we will have an even greater tornado threat, and it really depends on when this thing sets up. For areas like St. Louis, Missouri, you're right when that storm really first develops, right when the line develops. It's possible St. Louis gets severe storms. We're in the slight risk of severe weather, but it really depends on how early this line of storms develop. If it develops earlier, we could see some dangerous storms in St. Louis. If it develops really close to St. Louis, then it's still developing, so it won't be as significant, but definitely be weather aware there. But Memphis, Tennessee, Paducah, Tupelo, Mississippi do need to be very prepared in this 10% SIG risk for damaging significant tornadoes ranging all the way from Florida all the way up to Illinois areas. People in Florida, the Panhandle of Florida, spring breakers need to be weather aware as there's a 5% chance of tornadoes in effect from this system tomorrow. So there could be some isolated tornadoes with this in the Panhandle of Florida. So overall, this is going to be a big time severe weather event. If you're in any of these yellow or orange areas, you need to get prepared now. This is going to impact a lot of cities, a lot of people. Nashville, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas. It's a huge severe weather risk with this squall line. So due to it being a squall line, it's going to impact everybody. This isn't some hit or miss type of thing. It's a squall line that moves through a lot of the U.S., so it's going to impact a lot of different areas. So anywhere in these yellow and orange areas are pretty guaranteed to see storms from this. So that's why you need to be weather aware. It's going to impact a lot of people. This is going to be a big time storm for a lot of people. And if we look at the day 3 convective outlook, this continues into Monday. This squall line is going to re-strengthen once again on Monday, and this could be even stronger potentially than Sunday. We have an enhanced risk of severe storms from South Carolina all the way up to Pennsylvania, where areas like Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Washington, D.C. could all be in the potential for some significant damaging winds and maybe even strong tornadoes potential too with this system. As we do see a line of storms bringing embedded tornadoes and damaging winds potentially up to 80 miles an hour in some spots. So if you are in any of these yellow or orange areas, you should be weather aware and have a plan and be prepared, as there could be some significant severe weather impacts from this system that we do have. And if we look at the combined outlook, we could definitely see some very, very significant storms on Monday with this system too over to the east. And this isn't very common. We see a huge enhanced risk of severe weather in the mid-Atlantic areas. Now, we're going to use this RRFS model to time out these storms, and this model is showing it develops a little bit later, and so it doesn't impact St. Louis as significantly, but there still could be some damaging winds developing near the St. Louis area, and maybe even embedded tornadoes too, and this would be around the 4 p.m. time frame in St. Louis, and maybe even Springfield, Illinois areas that could be impacted by this. Chicago, this could impact you around 6 p.m. Evansville and Paducah, it's really going to start to get its act together during the overnight hours. Memphis, Tennessee, look at this. It's a huge line of storms. Anywhere ahead of this is going to get impacted. This thing is ranging all the way from Louisiana all the way up into basically Michigan. It's a huge, huge line of storms and a massive, massive system that we are going to be seeing. There could be embedded significant tornadoes, especially in this area and portions of Kentucky and Tennessee, and maybe even some extreme damaging wind gusts with this. I will admit, the dynamics from the system are crazy. Low-level jets going to be cranking. Look at those wind speeds. Those whites and browns are basically, when you see the clouds, when the clouds in the sky, when you look at the clouds in the sky, when they're moving really quickly like that, when they're moving very fast, that means the low-level jet is amplified. That means those lower levels of the atmosphere are moving very quickly. Typically, that makes for a big-time tornado threat, and that could lead to some embedded tornadoes with this system. But that's also going to lead to some very, very strong, damaging wind gust impacts that we are going to see with this. And look at that. It's going to impact all these people with some big time damaging winds with this. That's going to really be the main threat, is damaging winds with this system. If we do see prefrontals ahead of it, we could see some big time tornadoes, but man, oh man. Nashville, Tennessee, 11 p.m. potentially, where we could see this storm. Same thing with Louisville, Kentucky, could be a nighttime nocturnal tornado and damaging wind threat too across many of these areas as it rolls through. And if we look at parts of the east, this thing is going to ramp up again Monday at 1 p.m. And there is some tornadic potential. We're going to see more isolated cells ahead of this line that we could be seeing If you do look at some of the models, they're showing some isolated cells, especially in near areas like near Virginia Beach, where we could be seeing prefrontals out of the storm bringing significant tornadoes. But this is going to be another massive line of storms bringing damaging wind gusts all from North Carolina all the way up to Pennsylvania areas, with embedded tornadoes ahead of this thing too. So 2 big days out of this system that we are going to be seeing, all posing the impacts for massive squall. And this is going to be an absolutely gnarly, insane system that is going to be coming through much of these regions. And another thing I do want to mention that's going to happen, guys, that is absolutely really crazy with this system, is after the squall line moves through areas into Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and Indiana, we're going to see snow in the backside of this. It'll be snowing in St. Louis, Missouri at 8 p.m. on Sunday. The squall lines are going to roll through at 4 p.m. and it'll be snowing 4 hours later. That's how absolutely insane this thing's going to be. Springfield, Illinois, Chicago, it'll be snowing Monday morning. Indianapolis, it'll be snowing Monday morning too. It's not going to be a ton of snow, but a band of snow could bring up to an inch of snow in many of these areas that we could see after we already see severe weather from this system, which is absolutely crazy. Any of these areas could see up to an inch of snow from this. It's just absolutely wild. This system, it's plumb wild, like Ryan Hall says, because this is just going to be an insane system. Now, the very last thing that I did want to mention with this system is that we're also going to see some very cold air setting up behind this thing. All these areas in the Midwest into the southern U.S. are going to see a huge plume of cold air. It's going to be feeling like winter. It's going to surge back to winter. It's going to be very warm across a lot of these areas right now in a Sunday, and then this cold blast is going to come through, and it's going to be freezing. All these areas very below average temperatures. We're going to see temperatures below freezing in much of these areas, so it's going to feel like winter all over again. It's going to literally be winter for a day on a Monday on March 16th, which is absolutely nuts. And then we'll go back to some more warmer air once we get into next weekend on the 22nd across much of the U.S., which will feel more like summertime again, but wowzers. Absolutely crazy. And then we could even see another cold blast at some point. Pretty crazy weather pattern. We're going to be switching from cold to warm to cold to warm. But a lot of cold on Mondays. You're probably not going to enjoy it. If you've been enjoying these 70 and 80 degree temperatures in the central U.S., it's going to change significantly. Another thing I did want to mention is we're going to see a huge ridge developing. Next week, a historic ridge is going to develop in much of the western U.S., and this isn't normal at all. This is absolutely historic. We're going to see temperatures being absolutely smashed of their records. If the record high temperature is 90 degrees in your area, it could be 100 degrees here in early March. It's going to be feeling like literal summertime conditions when it's not even summertime. And you might think this is normal. We see hot weather in the West Coast, near Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, California. We see warm weather, but this is going to be absolutely insane. And the Climate Prediction Center is showing this. Look at that. That's a 90 to 100% chance. I never see anything like this. A 90 to 100% chance of above average temperatures on the 6 to 10 day outlook from this. And very dry below average temperatures from this system too. And it's going to continue for a long time across much of these areas. And due to this, the National Blend of Models is showing some very I've been saying this a lot. Some very warm temperatures from this system. It's going to be in the 90s on Wednesday in parts of California and Arizona, which is never seen before. This early in the season that we're seeing this warm of weather. It could potentially reach 100 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona at some point in many of these areas. Look, 103 degrees on Thursday, March 19th. In Phoenix, Arizona, in March 14th. These are temperatures you see in the summer. This is going to blow out the record high temperatures. It's going to be 90 degrees in Los Angeles, California. Just some absolutely absurd temperatures that we're going to be seeing across much of these areas. All right, I hope everybody did enjoy today's video. A massive storm system is about to impact basically tons people all the way from Florida all the way up to Wisconsin, with blizzard impacts especially expected for the Twin Cities, Green Bay, Wisconsin, all those areas, and then massive severe weather impacts including areas like Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, St. Louis, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, all going to be impacted by extreme damaging wind gusts. And then it's going to impact much of the mid-Atlantic areas, and at the same time, we're going to see massive wind gusts impacting much of the plains with gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Very windy event is coming with severe weather winds and non-severe weather winds with this system. And we're also going to have a massive cold front and a massive heat dome setting up across the western U.S. Absolutely insane weather upcoming. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and bye, everybody.